Franco Berardi is a writer and media activist, and he's lectured frequently at the Van Abbe Museum. We asked Franco to reflect on the work of Charles Esche and his drive to turn the museum into a space of public inquiry and social imagination. His talk has the very compelling title of Art in the Age of Barbarisation. Please join me in welcoming Franco Berardi.
Some days ago, in a French newspaper, or maybe an Italian newspaper, I saw a picture which was frightening for me. A picture showing a group of people, a group of citizens, normal citizens, not freaks or punks or extremists, burning a flag, burning a blue and stars flag, an European flag, okay? That's the picture. You see the picture? I've been thinking so many things during the last few months or 2-3 years, but I had never figured out that something like that could happen. It's happening. It happened in Athens a week ago, and I think that it will happen again in Rome, in Madrid, then in Paris, and at the end in Berlin. Why? What is happening? Why people are burning flags? I don't like flags, actually, but I don't like people burning flags, especially European flags. You know why I don't like people burning European flags? Because I always remember what Julian Benda said in the year 1933. 1933. You remember? Julian Benda said in that occasion, in le discours à la nation européenne, he said, Europe will not be what you are. Europe will be what you think, because being Europeans means nothing. Europe is not identity, is not about identity, is not founded on identity, is founded on thought, is founded on imagination, is founded on shared emotions and on shared possibilities and on shared thinking. Now, what is happening is this kind of transformation of Europe in a mathematical function. So, you know, I like mathematics very much, and I think that mathematics is important, okay, but I also think that mathematics is not exactly something that can be inscribed in daily life, because if I remember something of my philosophical studies many decades ago, I essentially think that the relationship between the mathematical abstraction and daily life is the same relation that you can find between an analogical, a continuous body and a digital, numerical abstraction. Reducing daily life to mathematical abstraction is transforming mathematics in a ferocious language. Mathematical ferocity is the danger nowadays. What can be done in a situation where we are every day told that we should frame we should be framed into that algorithmic system. Well, I think that we should say we are not reducible to a mathematical function simply because we are bodies. And bodies are essentially desire, are essentially excess, are essentially what cannot be framed into the language of mathematics. You know what happens when you try to force body into a mathematical abstraction? It happens that body starts to react in a barbarian way. Barbarity. What is that word? It's a Greek word. And the Greeks defined barbarian as those people who do not speak an understandable language. They say bar, so it's impossible to understand. You know, when we think that other people are talking in language that cannot be understood, when we refuse to understand the language of others, barbarianism starts. Well, I think that we are here and we celebrate my friend Charles Esche just because he is trying, he has been trying for so many years to explain that no language is impossible to understand. Every language has to be understood because it can be understood. Just we have to change something in our expectations. Just we have to displace our location, our view. And how can we change our expectations? How can we displace our location? You know, art is essentially about that. It's essentially about changing our point of view. For a moment, maybe, not forever. Nothing happens forever in the field of language. Nothing happens forever in the field of understanding, because we are not talking of identity. We are talking, if I can use this strange expression, of becoming other. Charles says becoming Dutch. Well, I don't know so much about becoming Dutch. I know something about becoming other. And becoming other means the essential of life, because in every second, while growing old, while falling in love, while being deceived, while starting a political or an artistic project, in any second of our life, we are becoming other. So, what is the depth? We are persecuted, obsessed by the idea that we have to pay our debt. So what the debt exactly is? I just come from the reading of a beautiful book of another of my friends whose name is David Graeber, and the title of the book is Debt. He is not an economical person, he's not an economist, he's an anthropologist. And he says, well, debt is essentially a promise, is an act of language. I promise that I will pay my debt, but you know, maybe that tomorrow things change and I cannot exactly pay the debt that I promised to you. So what? Do you want to kill me for that? We start talking. We try to understand each other on the common ground of being humans, of being Europeans. Being Europeans means that those strange Protestants and those strange Catholics who have a very different idea, try to guess the Orthodox, about debt, have to do something very easy to do. The problem is not about debt. The problem is not about guilt. You know that some languages are saying the two concepts with the same word. The problem is about understanding. And understanding is not forgiving everything or forgetting about everything. Understanding is about becoming rich. Rich of the real richness of Europe, which is art, which is poetry, which is knowledge, which is science, which is essentially understanding. Thank you.